Hey class, today we're going to look at how to multiply integers and how to simplify exponential expressions with integer bases. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to multiply integers with the same sign, multiply integers with different signs, multiply integers to solve word problems, and simplify expressions with exponents that have integer or negative bases. Let's get started. First, how do we multiply integers with the same sign? So we're simply going to multiply the numbers and then use our integer rules to determine the sign of the product or the answer to our multiplication sentence. Our integer rules for multiplying are if the signs are the same, then our answer or product is going to be positive. For example, if we have a positive times a positive, our answer or product is positive, like 2 times 3 is positive 6. A negative times a negative will also be positive because they are both the same sign. When we multiply integers with the same sign, our answer is positive. Just like in this example, negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Let's look at some more examples. Number 1 says negative 11 times negative 9. Well, we're going to multiply the numbers. 11 times 9 is 99. And we have a negative times a negative. So our signs are the same. So our answer is positive. So positive 99 or just 99. Number 2, we have a negative times negative 6. This negative on the outside is really a negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 6. Anytime there's a negative without a number in front of parentheses, there's actually a 1 there, but because anything multiplied by 1 is itself, we don't have to write it. So that's really like saying negative 1 times negative 6. Well, negative 1 times negative 6, 1 times 6 is 6. And negative times a negative is a positive. So your answer is positive 6. Number 3 says negative 30 times negative 3. That little dot there means multiplication. So if you didn't know that, that's important. So we're going to multiply our numbers, 30 times 3 to get 90. And we had a negative times a negative, so our answer is positive. Number 4, we're multiplying 3 integers. Now, the commutative property of multiplication says we can multiply in any order we want, but it won't change our answer. In this case, I'm still just going to go left to right, just because. So here we have negative 3 times negative 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12, and a negative times a negative is a positive, so positive 12. Then we need to bring down that multiply by positive 2. Well, 12 times positive 2 is positive 24. Positive times a positive is a positive, and 12 times 2 is 24. All right, now I want you to try numbers 1 through 4 on your own. Pause the video. Okay, take a moment, check your answers with mine. Pause the video if you need to. All right, now let's look at what happens when we multiply integers with different signs. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply the numbers, but then to find the sign of our answer, we're going to look at our next integer rule, which is if the signs are different, then the answer is negative. So for example, if we have a positive times a negative, our answer or product will be negative. Like here, where we have positive 3 times negative 2, our answer is negative 6. Same thing happens if we have negative times positive, our answer will be negative. Just like here, we have a negative 3 times a positive 2 to get negative 6, right? So if we're multiplying integers with different signs, our answer or product will be negative. Let's look at some examples. Here we have 3 times negative 5. Well, 3 times 5 is 15, and a positive times a negative gets me a negative, right? Our signs are different, so our answer is negative. Number 2 says negative 7 times 8. Well, 7 times 8 is 56, and a negative times a positive gets me a negative. Number 3, we have negative 6 times positive 8. Well, 6 times 8 is 48. And then we have a negative times a positive, so our answer is negative, right? The signs are different, so my product is negative. Number 4 says 2 times negative 2 times negative 9. I can go in any order I want, or I can just go from left to right. So 2 times negative 2 is going to get us negative 4. Bring down that multiply by negative 9, and now negative 4 times negative 9 is positive 36, because a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, you go ahead and try numbers 1 through 4. Okay, take a moment, check your answers with my answers. All right, now let's look at some word problems. This word problem says, Flora made 7 withdrawals. Remember, withdrawal is to take money out of $75 each from her bank account. What was the overall change in her account? So she's taking out $75 every time. So we take out $75, we take out $75, we take out $75, and we do that 7 times. So we're taking out $75 7 times. So we can do negative 75 times 7. Well, multiply your numbers, 75 times 7. You can write it vertically if you like. And you get 525. And we had a negative times a positive, so our answer is negative. Or you can think of it as we're taking money out. So we withdrew or took out $525. The overall change in her account was negative $525. All right, now you try this one on your own. Okay, check your answer with my answer. Pause the video if you need to. Now let's look at exponential expressions with integer bases. So an exponential expression is just an expression with exponents. Exponents and exponential expressions just represent an easier way to write repeated multiplication. So when we have repeated multiplication with the same number, we can rewrite the expression using exponents. In our example, we have repeated multiplication of the number 2. So we have 2 times 2 times 2. That 2 is going to be our base of our exponential expression. And our exponent is going to be 3 because we multiplied 2 by itself 3 times. So if we look at our exponential expression below with the x and the n, our x is considered our base, and our n is considered our exponent, or sometimes it's called power. So in our example above, 2 was our base, and 3 was our exponent. Now this x and the n can be read as x to the nth power Now, if there's an exponent of 2, you might hear people say squared, or if there's an exponent of 3, you might hear them say cubed. Like, for instance, this example with the 2 and the 3, we could say 2 cubed, or we could say 2 to the power of 3, or 2 to the third power. Lots of different ways we can say that. Let's look at some examples. Number 1, we have 6 squared, or 6 to the second power, or 6 to the power of 2, however you want to say it. So 6 is our base, so that's what we're going to keep multiplying by. That's what's going to be repeated. For example, 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. That's our repeated multiplication. But our exponent here is 2, so we're only going to repeat that multiplication twice. So we're going to do 6 times 6, right? Here's the first one, here's the second one. Well, 6 times 6 is 36. So that means that 6 squared, or 6 to the power of 2, is 36. Let's look at another example. Number 2 this time has a base that is negative. So negative 4 squared, or negative 4 to the second power. So our base is negative 4, so that's what we're going to keep repeating in our multiplication, like negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4, and so on. But our exponent is a 2, so we're only going to do that twice. So it's going to be negative 4 times negative 4. Well, 4 times 4 is 16, and a negative times a negative, they're the same sign, so our answer or product will be positive. So negative 4 squared is positive 16. Looking at number 3, we have 3 cubed, or 3 to the third power. So our base is 3, so that's what we're going to multiply over and over again. And in this case, we're going to multiply it, or repeat the multiplication 3 times, because we have an exponent of 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then we have to multiply. 3 times 3 is 9, and then we have to multiply it by 3 again, which is 27. So 3 cubed, or 3 to the third power, is 27. Looking at number 4, we have a negative base again, and then we have an exponent of 3. So it's going to be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Our exponent was 3, so we're multiplying by negative 2 3 times. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, and then multiply that by negative 2 again to get negative 8. All right, now you try some on your own, number 1 through 4. Take a moment, pause the video, and check your answers with my answers. All right, one last thing we have to look at when simplifying exponential expressions is when there's a negative sign outside of parentheses. So remember, when we have a negative sign right outside parentheses, that's like saying negative 1 times whatever is inside that parentheses. So we're really doing negative 1 times 7 to the second power, or 7 squared. Now, if we think of our order of operations, PEMDAS, we do parentheses and exponents before we do multiplication. So inside the parentheses we have 7. Well, there's nothing to simplify there, so we're done. And then we move to exponents. Well, our exponent is 2, so 7 squared we have to do first. Well, 7 squared is saying 7 times 7, so we're doing negative 1 times 7 times 7. Well, 7 times 7 is 49. And then we have to bring down that multiply by negative 1. And negative 1 times positive 49, a negative times a positive is a negative. So our final answer is negative 49. All right, let's look at number 2. Here we have a negative outside the parentheses, so that's really like saying negative 1 times whatever is in the parentheses. In this case, it's negative 3 cubed, or negative 3 to the third power. So we're going to leave our multiplication because exponents comes first. So we're going to do negative 3 cubed first, which is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Well, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And 9 times negative 3. So let me just rewrite that below. So now we have 9 times negative 3. Well, 9 times 3 is 27, and a positive times a negative is a negative. And then we have to bring down that multiply by negative 1. Now that we did our exponents, we can move to our multiplication. Well, negative 1 times negative 27 is positive 27, right? A negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so you have to be careful with when there's negatives outside parentheses. So why don't you give that a try? Remember, the negative outside parentheses is really like saying negative 1 times 1 cubed. Just like over here, we have -1 times -2 squared. And make sure you do your exponents before you multiply by that -1. Go ahead and give it a try. Okay, check your answers with mine. And then that's it for this lesson. Have a good day.